man.
Dan the man, good evening.
Man, what's up, brother? Listen, man, for those of you joining us, you're in for a special treat, man. I got George, a.k.a. Riley. I'm going to butcher this. Panagakis.
That's very good. I give you you get an A for that.
I can't thank you enough for joining me today. I have been a fan of yours for so long. Maybe the best NFL handicapper in the country today, man. Am I giving you too much credit, or?
You know what? With the games, I'm just okay, but I'm pretty good with the props. But I'll be honest with you, picking NFL games, I'm one of the. It's not easy to do, and I'm just okay at it. But I'm pretty good with the year-long props and props with playoffs and stuff like that. But the real smart, some of these guys that do the college football handicapping, the guys who really know college, they do well. But I wish I was one of those guys, but I admit I'm not one of those guys.
You know, for me, it's just a time issue. If I had the time, I would dive headfirst into college football. Even though I do a lot of draft stuff, I get a chance to watch maybe 50 to 75 college games a year, and that's about it.
You know what? There's a difference between the games and the NFL draft. I like the NFL draft a lot, and I made money on the draft last year. And they have these draft props now, and there's a difference between putting a number on a football game and knowing what's going on in the NFL draft. And I'm really good with the draft, and I've made money the last couple of years with the draft. I like the draft a lot.
You know what? I didn't know that, and you know, I've seen some of your picks for the draft. I loved your Levis pick, even though it didn't pan out. You got great value, and hopefully I can get you to come back on when we do because I'm going to do a ton of mock drafts. And last year I was live for the first round. So
you know what? You just used a great word there, value. I had a great number on Will Levis, like literally before the year started, and he had a decent September. And he went down to I don't know what it was, 10-1. I had 40-1, and I'm like, wow, I might hit a home run. Boy, did he fade in November. I mean, he did absolutely nothing, and look where he got picked. But
well,
I got the value. You're right.
The value was fantastic. I watched him play a little bit, and I was thinking that one of the things I liked about him was that there's not a lot of NFL talent on Kentucky except for him. But what little I did watch him play, he just didn't really stand out. But I'll be honest, as a prospect, I almost liked him more than Bryce Young. I'm still not sold on guy being 195, 200.
You're right.
In the
NFL. Jury's on him, Bryce Young. He seems like a nice kid, a high character.
Yeah,
he seems to throw an accurate ball. But he's small, but he's got no talent. You just got to look the other way for a year or two and let him figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. He was so much fun to watch in college. I had C.J. Stroud as my quarterback number one, and for the first couple mock drafts, I had him going number one. Then I just heard so much talk, and when there's smoke, there's fire. Hey, let me ask you this here, man. How did you get the nickname Riley?
Well, great question, and there's two answers, and no one knows which is right. It's because I used to put a little more gel in my hair, and I looked like Pat Riley. So I would play poker, and they would call me Riley. Or it's the life of Riley, where I'm not big on work, and I'm kind of an underachieving poker player. So they call me the life of Riley. So there's two stories. No one knows which is right.
Man, as far as poker is concerned, I got my buddy Tim. Me and Tim, when the poker boom hit, played really, really we really got hardcore into playing Texas Hold'em. And it kind of, after the boom faded, I can't speak for Tim. I think I played hardcore for about 3 to 4 years. The boom hit and went, and so did I. But you like playing Omaha, right?
Well, right now I do play PLO. It's a love-hate thing. You either love the game or you don't. It's a different animal. I've played a lot of PLO the last 10 years. I've gone to Florida and so forth and so on. But like you said, with the big boom 20 years ago with Moneymaker, everything was no limit hold'em. I was in California. The games were great. And then after about 5, and then every 5 years, things go in fluxes. And right now the games in California are pretty tough. And you kind of got to move around the country. You got to be a loner. It's not a glamorous lifestyle. But I've become a PLO player, yes.
Man, I'm going to keep the show football related, but I think me and you could talk for hours about
Yeah.
poker, even though I call myself retired at this point. And, with the hair gel, I wish I could have some, but I haven't
Yeah.
had hair in about a dozen years, man. This is my boy Keys, and Keys has been on my show many times, co-hosted. One of his channel is mostly Chiefs related, and when it comes to knowledge about the Chiefs, there's not a lot of people that know more about the Chiefs than Keys. And he has a great question just to start it off here. How much does the ref stats in a given week factor into your picks?
Wow. You know what? Hey, this guy's sophisticated. I don't keep track of refs. There's some very sharp guys that do. I'm not one of those guys. I'm just more of a big picture guy. And you know what? That's completely out of my realm. But there's some people that know refs, maybe be their homer. There's certain teams they like. That's not my world at all. And that's not my thing at all.
All right, that's good. That's good to know, because I know that there are a lot of people that are into that. I personally have never really paid that much attention to it. I know some referee crews call a lot more penalties than others.
Right?
I've never
Exactly.
Yeah, I've never really factored that into anything I've done, but that's a great question. Keys also hits up what week of the season will Levis have a new girlfriend?
Wow. Well, that's. Hey, like I said, I'm a draft guy. I was watching the draft. They were shaking. You know, she's thinking about every pick is down. She's losing $1 million every pick. And they didn't even come back for the day 2 of the draft. He pulled the Geno Smith. He was so embarrassed.
Oh
If
man,
you remember, he didn't even come back for the second day. It was unbelievable.
You're not going to believe this, and everybody's going to deny it, but about 85% of Chiefs Kingdom, maybe the number's high, wanted Geno Smith number 1 overall.
Wow.
Yeah, he has. Well, you remember the Chiefs had the number 1 pick, and there was a lot of talk about Geno Smith, and there was a lot of Chiefs fans that wanted that kid. I watched him play at West Virginia. I remember he had this one. He had a game against K-State, and he just threw like a childlike temper tantrum on the sidelines. And I was thinking he just didn't have the mental makeup to make it in the NFL. But kudos to him for doing a good job. Last year in Seattle. I mean, that was what 10 years ago.
You know what? It's funny. I remember him. He was at West Virginia in September, October. He was clearly the best player in college football, and he stunk in November. And he slipped in the second round of the draft, and he was pouting. But I don't remember who did the Chiefs draft at number 1 that year. I don't remember that.
They drafted offensive lineman out of Central Michigan. I'm drawing a complete blank on his name.
Oh, I remember that year. It was literally the worst draft talent ever.
Yeah,
offensive tackles went 1 and 2.
They went 1, 2, and 3. And
Right.
Lane Johnson went number 3, probably the best one. And Eric Fisher.
Bingo.
Yeah, and Luke Jokel, something like that from A&M. That was the big name.
He went to Jacksonville.
Yeah, and I think 5 years later, he was out of the job.
That was considered the worst draft of all time. Literally, it was.
But it really sucked because we needed a quarterback. In the previous 2 years, you had Cam Newton number 1, Andrew Luck, and
all timer.
We come out, we got Geno Smith.
Right.
And Keys admits it. He was one of them, but yeah.
Well, you're going to see this Sunday when the Bears come to Kansas City that the Bears need a quarterback. This is getting really ugly.
It's funny. I actually thought the Jets would take Justin Fields, and the reason why is I thought he was more pro-ready than Zach Wilson, and I thought under Robert Saleh, you wanted a guy that could just come in. And the offense, I thought that they would run would be the same thing they ran at Ohio State, which is just 1, 2, run, and that's what his progression. And that seems. You have to tell me. You're in Chicago. You watch. When I watch Justin Fields, it looks like if it's wide. Oh my God! I got option 1, I got option 2, and then I'm going to run. And it seems like that's about all he can handle. Am I wrong here? Or
yeah, well, that's what's happened this year. I mean, the guy. I think that it's 1/3 coaching, 2/3 Justin. They're trying to keep him in the pocket. They're trying to be Aaron Rodgers. say what you want. This guy's an athlete. He's got to move. He throws a decent ball, but he's a very slow processor. He's not a pack and passer. This guy's got to run, and he's got to see the guy open. And this has become a complete disaster. It really has. But then again, so is Zach Wilson. So what does that tell you? It's hard to pick a quarterback.
It really is. A lot of people are so high on drafting quarterbacks, and I get it. But I mean, basically you got a coin flip here. Well, a couple of years ago, I was really high on Sam Darnold, and he's on team number 3 after 4 years, something like that. I mean, he's backing up a 7th round pick. I mean, that was a guy I was very, very high on. I like Josh Allen, but I was higher on Darnold than I was on Allen. I'm the only Chiefs fan that'll admit I didn't like Mahomes coming out.
You know what? I'll admit I never heard of the guy. I never I never heard of the guy. They moved the GM, who's gone now. They didn't like him, but he called Mahomes. He moved up from like 27 to 10, something like that. And this Mahomes now. I mean, he's the face of he's the Michael Jordan of the league. Everybody loves him. Everybody loves the kid.
Yeah, I was somebody I didn't like his. So I kept on watching these highlights. His mechanics were off. He was a gunslinger. Nobody in that spread offense had any success at all. They had I can't remember the kid who at Hawaii threw for like 25,000 yards or some shit. I'm drawing a complete blank on his name. He went to Washington, did nothing. Kingsbury had to go into coaching. I forget who else it was at Texas Tech, did nothing in the NFL. And I was expecting the same thing out of Mahomes. And, he is kind of a perfect storm too. He got to sit behind Alex Smith for a year. He had, that's another thing is that even though all the top quarterbacks are starting, I'm an old school guy. I want to see somebody sit for a year. And I think that's the best way to develop. But
yeah, it certainly worked with Mahomes. I mean, and you like you said, you had Alex Smith, who was a decent player. Mahomes got to learn, and hey, you've been to 3 Super Bowls. I mean, literally, and you got him for the next 5 years. Just like with Elway with Denver, you got a 10 to 12 year monopoly, and you have a dynasty. And I was here for the Bulls. Boy, it's a lot of fun, and you're just gonna enjoy it.
Oh, man, I have been just soaking this in. I've been a season ticket holder since '89, and in the '90s was a lot of fun. I loved Marty Ball. It was a great time, but we couldn't, come playoffs, you kind of were like, this time it's just different, and I can't tell you how much I love it. I have to admit, I think Andy Reid's not going to be around too much longer. Travis Kelce's going to be 34 soon. So, I mean, I've been saying I think this year might be his last year.
You know what? It's hard to predict the future, but I tell you what, when you got Mahomes, if a player's good and he's got 2 or 3 years left in his career, a lot of guys will want to finish their career in Kansas City because they want a lot of guys want to win, like a Bill Walton with basketball. They want to end their career with a championship, and the guys will always come through Kansas City because they know this Mahomes can play. He's a high character guy, and you're set for the next 10 years. There's no doubt about it.
Well, I tell you what, I've been really enjoying it because I sat through some real bad. I sat through some bad years. I know right now, you're kind of in a bad spot there in Chicago, but yeah.
Exactly. You're not going to get any sympathy from me because, I mean, every 3 years we got a different quarterback, and Green Bay's always got a quarterback. It's just the whole thing's a joke.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I get it. I mean, I watched Elway just destroy us, and then I watched Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning at Arrowhead was just crazy. It was just insane. I watched every game that he played at Arrowhead. The only game he lost, true story, the only game he ever lost at Arrowhead, he threw for 473 or 476 and 5 touchdowns. They lost 35-35. It was, Peyton Manning entered Arrowhead, and I don't know. I mean, it was just crazy. He couldn't lose. It was nuts.
And those guys, you know what? Their preparation, they're so smart, and they're winners, and that's all there is to it. The quarterback. It's half the game right now. Is the quarterback, good or bad? That's the way it is.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Agree with you more. Speaking of quarterbacks, my buddy Tim here, he has a question. I've seen Caleb Williams talking about not coming out this year because the Cardinals may be having the first pick. Do you think it'll happen, or is it just some smoke? Yeah, man, George, man, what do you think, brother?
You know what? These guys talk like this. It's 90% smoke. If you're going to be the first pick, and that means you're going to get multi-millions, you know what? You never say no to that, because look at the injuries.
Mm-hmm.
You could your one fluke injury. You look at Bo Jackson. I mean,
Yeah.
now look at the guy in Cincinnati, this little calf thing. One injury, your career could change, and even if you say no to the Cardinals the next year, who's going to be the worst team the year after that? You if I'm the kid's dad, you take the money immediately. You never say no to 50 million like that.
I 100% agree. I mean, you're not only looking at the NFL contract, you're looking at all those endorsement deals that you're getting from being the number one pick in the draft. I mean, you're going to be on commercials coast to coast. There's a lot of opportunities. I remember I worked at a car dealership, and I'm throwing out an old school name here. When he had his last season was in the NFL, a guy named Warren Moon.
There you go.
Yeah. I got to meet Warren Moon in person. Nicest guy in the world, but as a backup quarterback his last year in the NFL, our dealership, we gave him an expedition. You know, he had to come in for a Saturday for like 2 hours, sign some autographs, talk to management, and gets a free car, and yeah, it's a good deal, So I mean, not only you getting all that money from your contract, you're going to get a lot of endorsements, a lot of perks from being the number one pick in the draft. I agree. Yeah, Tim. If he's going to be the number one pick in the draft, I think that you 100% take advantage of it and jump all over it here. That's the guy's name I was trying to think about. Cole Brennan. That's the guy I was trying to think of. I drew a blank on names.
Well, you know what else the Cardinals could do if they have the number one pick? Bring the coach from USC to Arizona to keep Caleb Williams happy, and all the problems are solved. This guy's going to go to the pros for sure.
You know what? It's funny that you say that, because I brought that up several times, because Lincoln Riley's been mentioned in NFL conversations almost every single year. Right. There was big talk, if you remember, when Mike McCarthy was signed by Dallas, that they were going to go with Lincoln Riley instead. But then he took the USC job, and they hired McCarthy. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. As of right now, it looks good, but we'll have to wait and see the playoffs.
I remember that talking. Boy, McCarthy, he really started slow, but I mean, I'm not a Dallas Cowboy lover or a hater, and but the Cowboys look good this year, boy. Give him his due. Give him his credit.
Yeah, absolutely. My boy Keith chimes in. The college money probably paying more than NFL year one money. Not if you're the number one pick in the draft, but there are some more and more kids that are looking at, hey, look, I could be a second or third round pick. I can still make money in college. I'm going to stay back. I'm kind of going off the. No, go ahead, George, man.
No, but like you said, though, when you're the number one pick, you never say no to 50 million. You just take it and hope. Yeah. The new coach, just like I said, bring Lincoln Riley in, and that's it. He'll solve the whole thing.
That's what I think here. My boy Denver Gator says, is that the Greek legend?
I am Greek, but I've never gone by the name of the Greek legend. No.
It's funny. I told my buddy Denver Gator, and he's no longer on social media. He's staying hidden from the law here. But I told him you were coming on. He's like, "Oh, you're kidding me, Dan. You're big time now." And I was like, "I don't know about that, man, but I'm geeked out about having you here." And Denver Gator's excited too here.
I have a nickname, so we'll leave it at that.
I like the Greek legend one here. Yeah. He has a great point about injuries. If you want to be the first overall pick, you're signing up to be on a bad team with some kind of fluke trade thing happening. You are signing up to be on a bad team, but the way the NFL is nowadays, you can get things turned around really, really fast. Take a look at Jacksonville.
Right. And you know what else? Arizona has Houston. They made a dumb pick in the draft. They have Houston's first pick.
And the third.
Third. The what? And the third?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I mean, granted, they got a nice player, the defensive end. They got a high character guy. But still, when you got two big-time, this May guy in North Carolina, when you got two blue chips guys in the draft this year, they never should have gave up the first-round pick. Big mistake.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. They gave up the first and the third, and I thought this was a big mistake here. And I mean, you look with a rookie quarterback. Most of the time, if you plan on starting him day one, you're going to struggle. So I'm looking
Right.
at Arizona maybe having the first pick in the draft and having a top 10 pick. Plus, you have some extra draft picks.
Not even top 10. I'm saying top 5 for sure. Houston has no talent. They got a rookie quarterback. You can. I guarantee you they're going to have 2 top 5 picks.
That's exactly what could happen.
Right.
And and then what you do with Kyler Murray, I mean that's going to be an interesting situation in itself. I mean, what kind of trade value does he have? Do you want to keep him and trade the number 1 pick overall?
Exactly. You can have that discussion all day long, and no one knows the answer. And you're exactly right. Who knows what's going to happen?
Exactly. Yeah. But to answer Tim's question, yeah, if you're the number 1 pick, got to go for it. This is my buddy Bufa. Matter of fact, speaking of the draft, Bufa was live with me all 6 hours for the draft, and he says the Cowboys will still fold in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, there's a Stephen A. Smith worshiper right there, and again, I'm neutral to the Cowboys. I'm not big, either way, and they have talent, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and Denver Gator chimes in. They said that nonsense about Burrow not wanting to pay for the Bengals. I actually do remember that. You hear it every year, and it's actually, it's by the agents, and it's smart. It's smart. You want to get that smoke because you want to drive the price up. That's all it is.
And you just said you can turn a team around so quick now. The Bengals got turned around in 2 years just like that. And don't kid yourself, Arizona people, the desert. Like I said, they just bring in a coach with the quarterback, and they'll turn it around real quick.
Yeah, and I'm a little biased because Bengals fans are getting a little snippy on my Chiefs. But I mean, if you had to choose between going to Arizona or Cincinnati, that's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, come on now.
Exactly.
I mean, forget the team. We're talking about locale. I mean,
exactly. Don't people like you're close to California with the California. They'll come back. They really will.
No, oh yeah, I agree. I agree completely. Steve-O, man, welcome, brother. He says Quinn Air. I'm going to butcher the name. By the way, George, I'm really bad with names, so I always tell people, hey, here's what you do. You always call your girl baby.
Right. Or you say doll or honey or sweetie.
Exactly. I always use baby because you'll never get in more trouble if you call her by the wrong name.
There you go.
So that's good advice. That's my life advice for all the men here. Quinn Ayers, hopefully I get the name right here. It might be the number 1 pick if he keeps playing like he is. Williams may not have to worry about getting drafted by the Cardinals. There's a couple quarterbacks that I mean, we were talking about this last week. There's 6 or 7 different quarterbacks in that round 1 conversation. And think about Ayers or whatever. He's got Arch Manning breathing down his neck. So, I mean, he's pretty much wanting to go pro after this year. I don't think he's going to go number 1, but after beating Alabama, I haven't looked at the college rankings yet, so I don't know where Texas is. But, I mean, he looks like a first-round pick. I don't think he's in that number 1 conversation, but, I mean, we've got a lot of time.
You know what? I think you're exactly right. I'll be honest with you. I haven't watched him play that much, but I do read a lot of mock drafts. And, they say he's good. And, yes, this draft, there's 2 big guys at the top, and it's a deep quarterback draft. There might be a half dozen guys picked in the first round of this draft. You got teams like the Vikings who are going to, let's say, the draft in the middle, but they're going to need a new quarterback. The Jets, no matter what happened with Aaron Rodgers in a year or 2, they're going to need a new quarterback. There's a lot of teams that are in the middle of the draft. They're going to need a quarterback. So there's a lot of crazy things could happen.
Oh, you're right. You mentioned a couple of them right there. You got New York. It wouldn't surprise me if the Jets drafted a quarterback in the first round.
Oh, not at all.
At all. I can make an argument, even though they signed him to a 4-year deal, that the Giants are going to look at a quarterback. And Washington, now that's kind of an unusual situation in itself because you got that new ownership and you have a head coach, general manager combo. I don't see how he keeps both positions. Usually if you're a new owner, you want to bring in at least a new general manager, if not both.
We'll see. But Washington has the rookie, the first-year quarterback. So you got to let him do his thing this year, and so no one knows. But again, the Jets and the Vikings, we know the exact spot they'll be in next draft, and they're ready for some new blood. They need some new blood in there. So but so it's going to be a great draft coming up. Very interesting draft.
Now, George, I know you already answered this, but Denver Gator wants to know: do you dabble in college football betting?
You know what? I do not. I casually watch it. I'll admit I don't. It's a completely different world, and just to show you how little that I'm not that smart at it. A year and a half ago, when Michigan and Georgia were both in the playoffs, the first game, Georgia was laying 7.5 to Michigan. This is like 2 years ago in the playoffs. And I thought to myself, you know what? I think 7.5 is good. Just for fun, I'm going to put $100 on Michigan. Well, Georgia blew them out like 30-10. And that'll just show you what little I know about college football betting. I mean, I'm the first to admit it. It's a whole different world. It really is.
It is. It is. The Joe Burrow led LSU team. They played, I think it was Clemson national championship.
Correct.
And I was like, no, I'm going with Clemson. I put a little action on Clemson, and I think that may have been my last college bet because I don't like I said, I watch about 50, maybe 75 games a year. It's funny, I got a bunch of it on my DVR. Matter of fact, I have that Alabama Texas game on my DVR. I probably won't get a chance to watch it. So
yeah, no, I'm just a casual college football fan. I might be in a casino playing poker. Sure, I'll enjoy the game. I watched Deion Saturday night play about a half, and I fell asleep like 11:30 at night. I fell asleep. I had to wake up to see they won overtime. But I'm really become more of an NFL prop guy more than anything else.
Matter of fact, that's a great segue here. My buddy Tim with a fantastic question here. When it comes to prop bets, do you like weekly in-game season? What is your favorite?
I like the season-long bets. Like I even put some bets in, like in the like April, May, and June. I had some. I just thought the Cardinals were going to stink, and I put $5,000 under 5.5. I've called the market perfectly. They're down to 3.5, and I've gotten. I tell you what, though, I got to give them credit. These first two games, thankfully, they lost both games, but they were in both games.
They oh God, I thought they were going to beat the Giants for a minute here.
Oh.
Is it? You know what? Do you mind if I bring up your prop bets?
Oh no, go yeah. Those are legitimately bets I've made. I tweet them out. Yeah.
I'm going to show the yearly ones here, Tim. These are all of them here. We'll just go down in order here. Arizona under 5.5. And am I reading this right? You bet 5K for at -125.
100% correct. It's just what it says, right?
And let me ask you this here. What is your thought process for making the bets for the year? Actually, let's just start with for the year, but like before the season starts, because you made these picks
right
in May. How do you work this out? Like before the season, do you have like a system, a process? Do you just throw darts at a dartboard or?
Right. You know what? I don't have a system. I had a quote unquote system theory for picking games, but that's a different subject. Regarding year-long bets, you literally have to watch TV and you have to have a feel for football. So I said to myself, Arizona, this quarterback, he's not going to come back at all. And he played bad too last year. At the earliest, he's not going to come back till November. And I just sensed this whole team going south. And because the whole team faded last year too. So I said to myself, this team, they're not going to win 6 games. It's not that good of a team. So I bet the under, and these guys are trying to tank. And I got about $10,000 in Arizona under, and right now the bet looks great. The market's at 3.5.
Yeah, you got. Let me see if you made the bet on Arizona on the 9th, right?
You know what's funny? I have dates on all my bets except the first one, but I know it was done way back in either April or May.
Yeah, that was the first one I saw, and then you jumped on them at. Let me see if I read it. Yeah, jumped on them later in May when it's at 5, and I think it ended. I think they were at 4.5 before the season started. It just started to tank, and everybody's seeing the same thing. So I thought you got great value at 5.5.
Correct. I made the normal bet of 5.5, and then they added on at 5, just like our shows, and then they did another one at 8.24. I had to pay juice because I got a great number of 5.5, but I had to lay 230 juice. So I bet.
Ooh, okay, I see that.
Yeah, you're right in the middle of this. I risked 2,300 just to win 1,000. But I said to myself, this team is tanking. There's no way in the world they're going to win 6 games. So it's like putting money in the bank. That's what I did. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I know for the rest of the season, I'll be cheering for Arizona to tank. I'd like for you to win. And let me see if I'm doing my math right. 10-3.
Roughly right around there is correct. Yes.
Yeah, that's going to be a good time. You're going to have a nice little party once the Cardinals hit loss number 12. And like I said, I thought they were going to win that game against the Giants. I mean, the Giants were a team that I thought they would take a step backwards, but when they lost to Dallas, I didn't blink too much. You know, week one's always kind of weird. That first half of the game, I thought like, oh my God, Giants may be like going back to when they were winning like 4 or 5 games.
Right. I couldn't believe it. I took a nap and I couldn't believe the score. And I woke up and like, oh my God, thank God. Unbelievable. Now look at the next bet. I bet against your buddy Mahomes there under.
You know, it's funny. I tweeted this out to my boy Keys, and he kind of took exception to that. And he goes, "What's he thinking with Mahomes under 46.50?" Now here's what I did. I went and looked at his stats, and on the average, he throws over 46.50, including last year. He hit, I think it was 5,200. What made you going into this season say, "Hey, look, I'm going to take under on the Mahomes"? Was there anything? What was your process here on making that bet?
You know what? Real simple. 2 things. I really thought his ankle might not have healed because, I mean, his performance in the Super Bowl with a bum ankle was just phenomenal. The guy's such a winner. Mm-hmm. And number 2, 46. So let's say 300 yards a game. If he plays 15 games, that's 4,500.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got to play like, that means he throws for 300 yards a game and doesn't get hurt at all. Don't forget, there's just like with Aaron Rodgers, when you play the under, you have the injury advantage in your favor. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take a flyer here. I think he may have a bad ankle or he may get hurt. Something may happen. And the first game, he didn't do much. How many yards did he throw for on Sunday, roughly? I don't even know if you know.
Sunday, he didn't hit 3.
Okay, so I'm ahead of the game. Week 1, I don't even know if he got 200 yards, so I'm ahead of the game.
As of right now, without looking it up, I think he's right at like just slightly over 500.
That's probably a good estimate. So that means I'm a little ahead of the game.
Yeah, Denver Gator says Arizona giving you a 5K sweat.
I was sweating on Sunday, I'll tell you that.
I got Mitch yelling Rams, man. You know what, Mitch? I do not have enough Rams fans in here, so it's very, very good to see you, brother. Hopefully you hit that subscribe button on your way in. Denver Gator says that Baker bet is solid. Dallas is a good bet. Do the Rams scare you after 2 games for under 6.5?
I am 100%. I'm scared to death. All I can do is give the Rams credit. They look really good in week 1. I didn't see much of the game at all on Sunday, but they kept it close against the 49ers, and they have all the talent in the world. There were a lot of people like me that really thought the Rams were going to stink this year. They got a great defensive tackle, Aaron Donald. I don't think their quarterback is any better than average when he plays. I think he's got a little injury problem. But so far, bottom line is the Rams have become a nice team. I guess they got this rookie wide receiver, 5th-round guy who's been phenomenal. Mm-hmm. But as you could tell, I also have 10 grand under the Rams, and so far it does not look like a good bet. The Rams look like they're a solid average team, which for me is not good.
Let me see here. You said you got 10 grand on it. I see the Rams under 6.5, under 6.5, 3, 4, 5, 1. I see 48, unless you got betting at the bottom here. I'm missing.
Plus, I got a little bit more on the side. Like, you don't want to know what's going on the side too. I don't put everything on here.
All right, hey, fair enough. No,
you're right. I got 1, 2, 2, 2's 5, 2. I show about 8 there if you look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you this here. I was higher on the Rams than most people, but the issue with the Rams now, I'll disagree with you. I think Stafford's a pretty good quarterback, but the problem is with him is I don't think he's going to stay healthy. That offensive line is not very good. He's not a mobile dude. I'm gonna say, what was he, 36? I don't know off the top of my head, but
I agree with you though. He's not mobile, bad offensive line, and I think mentally he's but hey, so far the Rams look good. I've been on the wrong side of the game. What are you gonna do?
Well, you won it 1-1, and I think that NFC West, except for Arizona, is going to be I mean, you got the 49ers in Seattle, which I think are going to give them a tough time. So
right.
And then the Baker Mayfield bet, comeback player of the year. You know what? That I didn't even pay attention to that one. That's you got some great value there at plus 7,500. God, let me see if I'm doing. I can't even think here with the math. You got 2.7. So I mean, do you know off the top of your head what that would pay?
Of course, it's like 205,000, and if I hit that one, I'll be a legend. The reality is, I think Baker has talent. And at the end of last year, he was on the Rams roster for like the last game. They signed him like on Wednesday.
Yeah, I remember that.
He knew nothing about the play. He threw for two TDs. You know what? And he was in Cleveland, and he had a real bad coach there. So you know what? This guy's got talent. They have 2 wide receivers in Tampa. 75-1. I got it for 2,700. If I hit that, I'll become famous.
I'll tell you what, I'm pulling for you because I thought Tampa Bay at the beginning of the year was just going to be god awful. But
a lot of people thought that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean they got some questions on the offensive line. Their running back went to high school in this area, so I like that kid. But he's a guy that I watched him at Arizona State. And even at Arizona State, I was like, okay, this is a guy that, needs to be the number 2 guy. He needs to be like in a rotation, because he's tall, but he's kind of thin. He's not going to last the whole season. And I thought with him and Fournette together, I thought that was a good 1-2 combo because I thought Fournette would be the 1, he would be a 2. They got rid of Fournette, didn't replace him. So I'm like, okay, this team's going to lean on Baker Mayfield. They got 2 receivers. Okay, but it's not gonna last. So far, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, he's played well and he's matured a little bit. He made too many commercials, and like you got 2 wide receivers. And hey, I'll tell you right now, for 75-1, I got great value on that bet, and that's what a bet's all about. And you got to get lucky.
Yeah. Hey man, I'm pulling for you, and it's a great story. And those commercials were pretty good, though. I have to give them credit. They were good commercials, but I think coming, winning the Heisman Trophy and doing all those commercials, I think his head got a little too big. And I thought, to be honest with you, I thought the Rams should have kept him in LA. That offense it was such a big jump when he arrived. And there's no way he could have known 20% of the playbook. It looked like he was just kind of making stuff up as he was going along.
Right. It was the last game. I watched 5 minutes of it and I read about it. But he played a good game, and this guy's not the first pick for nothing. And like I said, he had bad coach. Of course, Cleveland, the organization, he had bad coaching. Mm-hmm. And hey, people need a fresh start, man.
Absolutely. I'm going to be pulling for him. It like at the beginning of the year, I thought this was just going to be a disaster. I thought Minnesota was going to win week 1 by a couple touchdowns. I actually picked your Bears to beat them last.
Yeah, I know another sharp guy that did too. And but I'm just this Justin Field. I mean, this guy is literally he's lost. He really is. Yeah,
and then Chiefs need to hear that because the Chiefs really need to get back on track.
You're going to get 14 points to kickoff. Watch. You're 13 now. You watch. Once the public comes in, you're going to be 14. I guarantee it.
I don't know about that. And the reason why I say that is Kansas City's been pretty famous for not liking to cover these big spreads. I'm not really sure what it is, but they have an issue with keeping games close, and I'm not really sure what it is. But I'm kind of hoping we get out early, and I don't even know who the backup quarterback is in Chicago, but hopefully he's coming in like in the fourth quarter to play some mop up.
Yeah. You know what? That's a good point on your Chiefs. I just happened to see somewhere like the last 4 years, every game Mahomes has started at home in Kansas City, you're like barely above 500 of covering the spreads.
I'm surprised it's that high. Yeah, I'm surprised it's that high. I'm not really sure why. sometimes they play down to a level of competition, and for some reason or another, it's funny. I actually bet on Jacksonville in the playoffs to cover 8.5. So like
Well,
I
bet
won
that one.
I hit that. Yeah, I hit that. Tim comments here: Tua comeback player of the year looks right now good at plus 800. Yeah, I mean Tua would probably be my pick. The same issue. Well, actually, kind of. I said same issue, but the thing is with Tua, I just don't see him playing 17. But I think he got great value at 800 because if he stays healthy, he's probably going to win that.
You know what? I agree. That was strictly after week 1. I'm like, wow, what a show he put on. Had I thought about it, I would have put more because I'm a Tua fan. I think he's a great kid, but right, he gets hurt. I don't know what the odds were before week 1. I'm going to guess they were probably at least double that. But he had a great game, so I bet Tua. He's got talent. Again, if he doesn't get hurt, I think he wins it. Tua's down to like plus 250 right now because people and it's a great story. He was injured. You know, people have sympathy for the guy. Where Baker kind of made his own bed. So I think if it's close, Tua wins it. But hey, I'll take the 27,000.
Hey, I think it's realistic. My only issue with Tua is that when you can't stay healthy in college and you haven't played a whole season and you're in year 4, I don't see you doing it. And I always look at trends, and the trends are that, he's not going to play 17. But when he does play, I mean, he's a real talented kid. And you got weapons galore there in Miami.
Talent and weapons. If he stays healthy, I think I win the bet.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. I didn't even pay attention to that, but you made that on the 11th, so you made that week 2. Let me do this. Let me ask you this here, because we got you. I asked you about the beginning of the year. Now, going week to week, what is your process? Because that 9-11 bet's really good. I love your 9-12 bet with Carolina under 6.5. What is your process week to week on making bets?
You know what? It's strictly you just have to watch the team play, get a feel for the team, and again the Carolina. Their over under to start the year I think was like 7.5, and I didn't bet them to begin, but I just didn't think they were that good of a team. I mean, what's the big deal here? They got rid of their wide receiver to the Bears when they got the number 1 pick, and their quarterback. I think he's a real nice kid, but he's a little small and it's going to take him time. And week 1, they didn't do much. So I'm like, wait a minute now. It's 6.5. That means they got to go 7-9 the rest of the year for me to lose. So I'm like, you know what? I don't think they're going to win going 7-9. So I'm like, they lost last night. So right now it's like the line's like 5.5. I got it at 6.5. So right now I'm plus equity on the bet.
Yeah, you got a good number at -115 because I'm with you. I just don't see them winning 7 games. I like the under. My issue at the beginning of the year is I like Frank Wright. I'm drawing a complete blank on the guy's name. He's at Nebraska now, the head coach that took over at Carolina. I didn't think it was a good fit.
Matt Rule,
yeah. Don't get me wrong. I think he's going to do a great job in Nebraska because he turned around Temple. I mean, how the hell you win at Temple? He figured out a way. Baylor had it was not exactly the death penalty, but coming off that the sexual harassment scandal and everything that was going on there, he goes from 1 win to a couple years later. They're in the Sugar Bowl with a 12-win Baylor team. You won at 2 places in 2 bad situations, and you're going to Nebraska. There's money in Nebraska. I think it's hard to recruit there. That might be a problem, but
maybe he's got. I don't know Nebraska, but he could have a monopoly on the whole state of Nebraska. Every high school.
He should have a monopoly. He should have a complete monopoly on the whole state of Nebraska.
No, I agree with you. I think he'll turn these college guys. If they're winners, he'll turn it around. Just like Harbaugh, no matter where he goes, he's a winner.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't. Do you think there's any chance that Harbaugh comes back to the pros?
Oh, I think there's a serious chance. I think he's a great coach. He knows the pro game. I think he wants to win a Super Bowl. If he wins the national championship, whenever it may be with Michigan, it's like he's done his job. He's complete. Oh, I think there's a very good chance, and owners will be lined up to sign him because he did a great job with the 49ers.
No, I think so too. I'm also one of these people that swore up and down. I think after like 4 or 5 national championships, Nick Saban's coming back to the pros. Nick Saban's coming back to the pros. I said that for years, and it didn't exactly.
Right. No, you know what? And now Saban is 70. He's got millions in the bank. 10 years and 5 years ago, I would agree, but now he's done. He's made the mark. What does he have to prove now? He doesn't have to prove anything.
No, I remember reading something a couple of years ago that there was a booster, and he went ahead and the Alabama and Nick Saban had nothing to do with this. This booster went to the NCAA and he goes, "Listen, I want to pay off Nick Saban's house. And they're like, well, there's actually nothing against that. If you want to pay off his mortgage, you can go ahead and do it." And that's what they did. It was like $2 million or something crazy. I mean,
Wow.
I don't know if you've ever been down south or not, but those people down south, those people are, when it comes to college football, those people are nuts. My boy Denver Gator can attest to that.
No, you know what? You're right. The football's gospel down there. The only thing I know about the South is when you're on the 10 freeway, from Jacksonville to LA, from the whole area, you're 20 feet above the ground because all the water goes to the southern of the country, and the whole thing's a floodplain. So if you're on the 10 freeway, you're above water the whole way. It's pretty funny.
It's funny. I've only driven through Florida. I've never got to hang out there, but Denver Gator said I can sleep on his floor next time I come down there. So I got a place to crash. So I want to come down there. I've been down there a couple times, but I've never been able to stay or do anything cool. Denver Gator asked a great question. Do you use systems or analytics? Sounds like you're more of a gut, common sense, better following trends.
Well, when I do these year-long bets, like, for example, look at the last bet I made. Dallas Cowboys, I put it on yesterday. They look great. The team, they got a whole team going. The coach is experienced.
Mm-hmm.
Phillies struggled to win the 2 games. And my gut says the Cowboys are going to win the division. They're the best team. And I'm not a Cowboy hater or lover. So I added the Cowboys on yesterday for $1,500, even money. I just think they're the best team in the division. That's all the reason I need to make a bet. And you got to, if you don't go with your gut in life, you're going to go with someone else's gut. So go with your gut.
Man, that's fantastic advice. And what I had at the beginning of the year, and this is going to sound a little nuts, is that I had Eagles winning the division, but in the playoffs, I had Dallas advancing. My Super Bowl prediction is Kansas City and Dallas.
Well, so you got a little hedge there. That's okay.
Yeah, and the reason being is that I thought Dallas might take a little bit. The thing is with Philly is that when you lose both your coordinators, you can handle the coordinators themselves. The problem is that when you're a coordinator and you go to a team as a head coach, the first thing you do is you poach a couple of those assistant coaches. I don't know exactly, but I know Jonathan Gannon, who took over at Arizona, he took, I think, the linebackers coach in Philly. He's the defensive coordinator. And you get a lot of these assistants, guys that you don't know about. So losing both coordinators, I think, was going to cause some problems for Philly. I got to watch them play both games, and they don't look like they're the same team.
Exactly. No, they struggled to win both games, and you're right. They lost both coordinators. The coach just seems okay. But again, I just think and they have to play a first place schedule. Hey, I bet the Cowboys. I like the bet, and we'll see what happens.
No, I like it too. Micah Parsons was my pick for Defensive Player of the Year. He the way they're using him is just genius. He doesn't really have an assigned position. They're just like saying, see ball, get ball. And I mean, he's the size of a linebacker. He's as strong as a lineman, as fast as a receiver. Right. Just make things simple for him. And I think that what they're doing is just genius. Looks like it's working. That looks like it's going to be a phenomenal bet. I want to touch base on this here. Your week 1 and week 2 bets here that you made, and your week 1, this was just fantastic. Looks like perfect here. I'm kind of jealous because I wish I would have thought of this because I thought they were going to win easily by double digits over Houston, especially at home. I mean, this is a no-brainer here. What's your thought process, or what do you do week to week to prepare here?
You know what? Like you said, first of all, the score at halftime, I believe, was 10-9. So Baltimore was only up by 1. So thankfully, I won all 3 of the Baltimore bets. But I'm like you though. I thought it was going to be a blowout. There's a rookie quarterback. And believe me, it was close, and I won all 3 bets. But if you look at the bet, I'm not a money line player, but look at the bet. So Baltimore scores first and wins -120. So now let's say a guy bet the money line. The money line, I'm not sure exactly what it was, but maybe it was
a terrible number because the
yeah,
line
maybe it was
9.5.
450.
Yeah,
So what would you rather do? Lay 450 or only lay 120 if they win? They just have to score first. I would rather lay 120. 450 is nuts. So I just thought these were good. I mean, Baltimore wins both half. The problem is if they just tie a half, you lose. But again, I'm like you. I just thought Baltimore would blow them away, and I think they won by 17. But you know what? I was happy to win all 3 bets because it could have gone the opposite way. But I was 3-0 after week 1.
Week 2, yeah, I had kind of a rough week, but I'm going to tell you, I had Baltimore winning. I thought the Giants were going to win by a couple touchdowns, and I was right about Pittsburgh. But the weird thing is about Pittsburgh, I watched that game, and I thought they got kind of lucky, which is good for you.
Right. Well, no, this will tell you. I got news for you. There's nothing easy about it. I was casually watching the game while I'm playing poker. There's 2 games on. It was very confusing last night, but then I read that Pittsburgh got 2 turnovers scored for touchdowns. So yeah. I think we got lucky last night that Pittsburgh covered, and I'm telling you, these games are not easy.
No, it was fun. It was funny because I was watching the Carolina Saints game, and then they showed 14:55 first quarter, Pittsburgh 7, Cleveland nothing. So I went back and I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this. You know, that Kenny Pickett, man, he probably lit it up. And next thing I know, see Deshaun Watson coming out of the huddle. I'm like, what the hell happened here? And ball, I don't know who the player was, bounced off of a receiver's hands, right into Highsmith's hands, and pick 6.
First play. I don't know the details, but that's what I heard. We got lucky twice, and I mean, hey, we all have. I had Cincinnati. I really thought they'd bounce back. This Joe Burrow, he's not 100%, and the Giants. Again, there was some sharp big money on the Giants, and I had the Giants, and kind of went from 4 to 5.5 all week, and they got lucky to win the game, and thank God they did because I got under Arizona for my big 10%. I mean, I did not sleep well on my nap, thinking I'm going to lose this game. I couldn't believe it.
Well, I didn't watch the game. I watched the Red Zone, so I'm watching the highlights. And
Red Zone's
the Red Zone's fantastic. And so I'm watching the highlights, and it's funny. Arizona gets up, and I'm thinking to myself, watching this, it's like they're just playing so conservative. They don't. And I mean, I get it. You get the quarterback just came in off the street. You don't want him back throwing the ball 50 times, but it was one of those situations where you're just so conservative. And then the Giants get the ball first half, and I think it was like a 90-second drive, and they scored a touchdown, make it 20-7. And I was like, man, I think the Giants are going to win this game.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they couldn't cover 9.5 for you.
Right, they couldn't cover the 5. But I saw the stats. The Giant quarterback, like in the second half, it was one of the statistically greatest second half of football of Little League all time. He did everything. He ran for touchdowns. He threw them. Everything he did was perfect in the second half.
He played a phenomenal game, and it's kind of funny. I had a guy that I broke down all 32 games or all 32 teams before the season starts. And what I do is I do the same thing. I give you 3 things I like. I give you 3 things I don't like. Then I give you the yearly win total odds, a schedule, and then hey, do I recommend betting on the Giants? And I had one Giants fan in particular is just like, man, you're just Daniel Jones hater. You don't like him. And I said, listen, it's nothing against the guy. It's got to see more from him. But when you're an NFL quarterback and you're throwing for barely 200 yards a game for a season, I need to see a little more. I mean,
I think he's a perfectly average player, and he got. I mean, they gave him 40 minutes. They overpaid for him, but it's a crazy world. But like the playoff game last year against Minnesota.
Great game.
He's got some nice mobility. He'll make a nice play. You have to give him that. He'll run 2 or 3 times a game, and you got to give him his credit. But you know what? He's an average starter, and I don't mean that as a compliment or an insult. But that's the crazy world we're in now. and they overpaid for him, and hey, that was their decision.
And one of the things here, by the way, if you're watching this below, I follow George on Twitter. Are you on any other social media platforms besides Twitter? Because I know you're on Twitter.
I'm just, you know what? I'm just on Twitter. I had a website, I got rid of it. That's a long story, and I'm just on Twitter. GRP wins.
And by the way, the link to his Twitter is below. I repost a lot of his stuff, but you want to follow him because he has some really good advice. And this is the number one thing I like about you, and this is the number one thing I respect here. And if you're wondering why you can't, see everything else here, is because, hey, why don't I let you explain it here? Why you got the napkins holding it up? I know.
Right. You know what? It's just number one. Right. That's the bet. And then on both sides, there's like security code when you place a bet. Mm-hmm. There's security codes. I don't know if it's important to block them, but when you see anyone that puts a bet, they have certain numbers blocked out. Theory being, you're going to go there and you're going to say you made the bet, you lost the ticket, trying to steal my bet. Whether or not we're neurotics, we don't have to do it. I don't know. Right here, I prove the bet before the game starts. I cover the security numbers, and then after the bet, I tweet win or lose. I tweet the whole ticket.
That's the number one thing.
That's called integrity. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the number one thing I like about you. Is you post your losses. I do the same thing. I use sticky notes.
Yeah, there you go. Everyone's got ways to do it.
I do the same exact thing. You use some napkins. Maybe you're having a couple drinks at the bar or something. I don't know.
No, I make the bet in the sports book. There's a bar in the sports book. So then I say to the bartender, give me 2 napkins. So I cover up and I also show where I made the bet, Rivers Casino. And that's it. Everyone gets to see everything.
I don't have the whole picture. I did the snipping tool. But if you go on Twitter, you can see at the top here, it says casino. And I got kind of a kick out of it because I always tell people, if you have the option, I use both. I love going to the casino. Yeah. But I also use sports apps. But I tell people, if you have the option, if you live close by, don't keep in mind, I'm not telling you drive 2 hours to the local casino if you're 2 hours away. But if you have the option, if you got a casino close by, I always recommend going to the casino personally. Yeah. Let me ask you this here. What would you tell people? Because there's a lot of people are coming in that are new to sports betting. Would you be able to tell us like the pros and cons of going to the casino versus using the apps? Do you recommend one or the other?
It's a 50-50 feel thing. No one's right. No one's wrong. A lot of people, if you're not close to the casino, you just push a button on your phone and you make the bet. But nowadays, you have this weird, cyber attacks. And you know what? There's something to be said for having the little ticket in your hand. The problem is you could lose it. But it's like this bet here, the Steelers bet. I saw the line was going down to 2. So I literally just drove to the casino. And I made the bet, and luckily I got 2.5 because it could have been close. But it's everyone's got their own different way of looking at it. Maybe if you're older, you don't want to work with the app, you want to just do it in person. And I still love going there with cash and getting paid in cash. It's everyone's choice. There's no right or wrong answer.
That's great advice. I live about 15 minutes away from the Barstool. But what I usually do is I usually kind of check if there's a game I like. If all the numbers are basically around the same, I'll take the 15-minute drive. If I can get a half a point on that, I'll take the half a point.
Right. Well, hang on. We got to answer the question here from Tim Wallace. What's the craziest prop bet you ever made and hit it?
I think I know this answer, but
all right, Tim, because I was betting against your Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl about 3 years ago when you were against Tampa. Mahomes had a questionable big toe, and there was COVID. You never know. Someone could have tested positive. They would have kept them out of the Super Bowl. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to hit a home run. I bet every number from 0 to 10 that the Chiefs' final score. I had from 0 to 10. I had $100 on each number, and that was the Super Bowl that you guys only scored 9 points, and I got paid off 150 to 1. I drove to Hammond, Indiana, and I placed it with the Caesars Sportsbook here in the extreme southeast part of Chicago, just over the border in Indiana. And that Super Bowl, if you're a Chiefs fan, the end of the year, end of the game. Mahomes, the balls were bouncing everywhere. Mahomes almost scored a garbage touchdown, and I made 15 grand on that prop right there. I hit 150 to 1 shot on that prop alone.
That was, by the way, a fantastic prop bet.
Right.
You had fantastic value. As much as I hated to watch it, it made sense when you made the bet at the time because the Chiefs' offensive line was just in shambles.
Right.
We had Eric Fisher, the guy we talked about, number one pick in the draft, blew his Achilles out in the AFC Championship game, and I think it was 3 or 4 new starters. We rotated people all over the offensive line. Tampa's front seven was fantastic. I know Brady won MVP, but it really should have been that front seven. I mean, what a great job by Tampa Bay.
I compliment myself, so now I have to say, at the same time, I made the worst bet I ever made in my life. So I had every number from 0, 2, 3, 4, 5. So listen to this. The number 2, they have to end with 2 points. It was paying 5,000 to 1. I'm like, okay, what if it happens? So I bet the number 4, which means 2 safeties. It should have paid 50,000 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
It only paid 10,000 to 1. But I wanted to bet $100, so I had a ticket that says I would have paid out $1 million. 10,000 times 100 was $1 million. So I wanted to make the bet just to see a ticket that said paid out $1 million. So it was the worst. It was the worst bet of my life. What are you gonna do?
Hey, you know what though? It's a great story, and I remember I showed that. I don't remember if somebody sent you a message on Twitter, but I ended up reposting that, and I know somebody replied to me, "Man, this guy is a moron. Who thinks that Kansas City's going to score early?"
I literally bet they score 4 points. I'm the guy that did it.
Hey, it was heartbreaking, but it was also one of those games that I knew at halftime it was over. I knew it was done. I knew it was over. I knew about your bet, so I was kind of pulling for you, but because you could tell. It was.
Right.
Hey, but you know what? A couple years later, we beat Philly, and hey, look, I won money on the San Francisco Super Bowl. I was actually in Vegas for that, so
good for you. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, the Kansas City, the Chiefs, they've become it's literally just like the Bulls, where the Chiefs have become a national team, and people love Mahomes, and they love to watch him play. It's good for the whole league loves it. It's good for the whole league.
It absolutely is, and this is something Denver Gator points out here. He's got a great question here. I want to point out, but he says that I can't stand bettors only poster. There are so many people out there that they'll be like 3-7, but they'll post their those 3 wins and try to act like and this is why I always say follow this guy if you want to know sports betting. I've referred to him as a guy who I respect in the sports betting community over the years. From now on, I'm just going to say, hey, it's George. George likes this. He's the only there's a handful of people out there, but George is one of them. If he makes a bet and I make a bet and they're different, he's the guy, like, I'll go back and look at my bet and go, okay, what did I do wrong? And I'll look over it. There's one game in particular. It was last year when the Tennessee Titans had Malik Willis as their quarterback. I liked the over, and George liked the under. And I went back and I started looking. I was like, man, maybe I made a mistake here. And I was like, no, Chiefs are probably still going to score 30 on Tennessee. This is good. And I should have listened to you.
Yeah, no, I called it dead right in that one. I was not a Malik Willis fan, and last year he literally stunk. And this year in the preseason, he's had some good preseason games, good for him. But Malik Willis was awful last year, and hey, sometimes I pick a winner.
Yeah, I was fully. I thought at Arrowhead the Chiefs would score enough, and I thought I could get 40.5, but. Kansas City, the game went in overtime, so I even still had a chance. It was tied up at 17 in overtime, but the Chiefs could only get a field goal. So that's one of the times I should have listened to you, because there's a lot of people out there that are bigger names, different sites, sites with pretty girls, and saying stuff. Yeah.
Pretty girls. These sportsbook. You can't make this up. They pay the pretty girls to give out picks. And these dumb guys are watching these pretty good. What are the sportsbooks that they're going to pay someone to give winners against the sportsbook? You can't make this stuff up. It's unbelievable.
and they're raking in money hand over fist doing this.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. I got Denver Gators got a great question here for you. This is kind of the reason why I love having the comments come on. I didn't plan this, so hopefully we didn't catch you off guard here. But do you ever move points to create a 2-3 team teasers?
I know I've done 2 team teasers very rarely, and it's real simple. The key numbers of 3 and 7, and you want to buy through the key. Like if a team's at home laying 8 points, you do a teaser. You just lay 2 points. You got to do 2 teams, and so forth and so on. The problem is anything the public knows, the sportsbook knows. So sometimes you can go there to bet a 2-team teaser, but you can't just lay 120. They charge you more juice if you're going through key numbers. So just like anything else, the sportsbooks learn, and it's called a teaser because 90% of the time it's a sucker bet. And the worst teaser at all is doing through totals. Like if you want to do a teaser through points, I've done analysis on it myself, and it's the worst teaser there is. So if you're going to do a teaser through key points, you want to have some fun, give it a shot, but don't do it with totals.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the teasers, but I have done it myself. He didn't ask, and again, this is a question I didn't. For those of you who come on my show, I usually try to let people know ahead of time. So I'm throwing a curveball at you, George. So I apologize for it, but it's something that Denver Gators brought up before. How do you feel about parlays?
Well, again, I'm not going to go through the math with it because I don't have it in front of me. But in general, the house edge is about double. If you take 2 teams and you do a parlay, remember anything the house offers is an advantage to the house.
Yes.
And the reason why they have these SGP, these same game parlays, needless to say, the house advantage doubles, and it is what it is. I'm referring to the basic 2-team parlay. But all these young kids now, they want to do a $20 10-team parlay and try and win $3,000.
Yeah.
The house edge there is like 30%. It's a whole different world, and they want to buy out of it halfway, and that's a world I have not got into. I just know the house. I'm real serious about it. I'm not trying to turn $30 into something. I'm betting thousands on real situations, like under Arizona. And so last year I got under the Bears. I'm betting real money. I'm not interested in betting $50 in a 10-team parlay.
No, I could not agree with you more. I've always said this, that if you have, let's say you have a 3-team parlay that you want to bet, I've always said you're much better off just making 3 individual bets. And then if you wanted to, let's say you're betting 1,000 on each, right? You're betting 1,000 on three different games. If you want to take $100 and put it on a 3-team parlay, I don't have too much of a problem with it. I don't do it myself because if you win 2 out of the 3, you're still going to come out with a profit. But I've always told people if you got a 3-game parlay that you like, you're just better off making 3 separate bets.
Exactly. If we're not going to get into the math, but trust me, if you're 100% correct, you're better off just betting 3 separate bets, right?
I don't want to keep you here too long here. Renee says,
no, we're doing good. We're doing good.
All right, yeah. Renee says Bucks. Hey, welcome, Renee. I've never seen you before. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. You're in a great show here. You missed a good one here. Denver Gator giving some love here. One thing I thought that was really interesting is in June you got the Raiders under 2.5 wins in the division. I think you got a real solid number too, in -115 here. Give us kind of your thought process about that, because I love that bet.
It's funny. I was just going to I'm glad you brought it up. So you guys have to pay attention to these props because these sports books, there's so many, they will literally make outright mistakes. So we all know common sense is the Raiders, they have below average talent. In the division, Denver was supposed to be average, and the Chargers good, and of course Kansas City great. So look at the number I got. Under 2.5 wins in the division. That means to lose the bet, they have to go 3-3 or better. So I'm like, this is a great bet. And the juice was 115.
I can't believe you got that number.
Let me tell you right now. Let me tell you what it closed at. It closed at like -190 because so many people were betting on it. And I'm telling you, Caesars made this is a bet. They put a bad number. Caesars made a mistake. So unfortunately, the first game, the Raiders won at Denver, so they're 1-0. So I got to hope they only win one game or less than the next 5 division games. But I love the bet, even though the Raiders did win the first divisional game they played.
Oh, I love it too, and the reason why is I'm a Chiefs homer, but I'd be really shocked if they won either game. Now they do play the Chiefs the last game of the season. There is a chance we may see a Blaine Gabbert at quarterback. It may be a nothing game. You may be going against backups, but that's the only that would be the only way I see that hitting. But I see 2 losses against Kansas City. I've been telling people I'm not high on Denver. I got to go down to Denver for the first time last year, and everybody in I call it Denver, but it's a town called Black Hawk, Colorado. I don't know if you're familiar or not. It's just right outside Denver. Anyway, great town, great sports fans. They all thought they had a Super Bowl winner.
Wow. No, Russell Wilson
was bad.
To be honest with you, I always thought he was a little overrated, not as good as everyone said he was. And, I always thought he was a little overrated. He always had to move out of the pocket because he's so short, and he's just hit rock bottom. And, I respect it. If they can't do it this year, I think Russell Wilson's done. And he's gotten his $200 million. What does he care?
No, I agree completely. I don't think him and Sean Payton are a good fit. I mean, what he does well and what Sean Payton does well, or at least I'm looking at what he did with the Saints, is he had Drew Brees, who's a guy that sits back in the pocket, just throws darts, and that's not Russell Wilson's game at all.
No, Russell Wilson, he likes to move around. He wants to see the guy open, and then he'll throw a nice pass. And but again, I always thought he was a little overrated, and look what happened. Seattle got rid of him 2 years ago. They knew he was a little overrated, and Denver totally overpaid for him. It's embarrassing what they gave for him.
No, yeah, I told a lot of people. I said, I have a bad feeling Denver's going to finish 4th in the division, and I got laughed at, and then people knew hey, you're from Kansas City, and then they're like, oh, you're just those angry Chiefs fans when we win. I'm like, I don't see it's going to happen, but that Raider, I can't believe you. So you got that number at the Caesar Sportsbook.
I remember it very well because all these different apps, they have different props. In Caesars, they have this one. That's what it was. Wins in the division,
and I can't. And you nailed it too. Is that every once in a while a sports book will make a mistake. It doesn't happen often, but the negative 115 at this number is very clearly a mistake. And I think you're even with the win week 1, I think that's one you're definitely going to collect on.
100%. I think 1 out of 100 times they make a mistake, they put up a bad number, and win or lose, I still think it was a great bet on my part. Now, for example, look at my Bears bet. I'm over 7.5. Right now, the Bears are 0-2 and they look bad. I wish I'd never made the bet, but hey, who hasn't made a bet they lost on? Give me a break.
It's something I've always told people that I call it a burn fund. You have to be able to take the money. You have to light it on fire. If you're betting your rent money, you're just wrong. Don't do it. If you can't afford to lose it, you don't make the bet. I got your logic. I didn't agree with it because I'm not sold on the offensive line. You made the bet before they signed Yannick Ngakoue, and that was another thing I didn't like about the Bears is that they had no pass rush. Now, after they signed him, I was like, well, you know what? You got some tackles in the draft. You got some talent in the secondary. You spent a lot of money on two linebackers. You got T.J. Edwards and the big kid from Buffalo.
I know you're talking Edmonds there. So yeah, I know.
Edmonds. Yeah. I had a huge man crush on that dude coming out of Virginia Tech. Absolutely loved the dude. I thought Buffalo was using him wrong. Because they're playing like the Tampa 2 type of system. And I'm like, you got a guy who's 6'4", 260. What are you doing dropping him back into coverage for? And he's athletic enough that he could do it. But I just, I thought going to Chicago, great chance to resurrect his career. And I thought it was a great fit. But when you made that bet, I don't remember when Ngakoue signed. I think he signed after May, was it May 12th? I could be wrong on that.
Well, you know what else it is though? You have to end right. I made the bet when I wrote the date, but you have to anticipate the Bears had a lot of money to
Yeah.
spend with the salary cap. So at any time they could sign someone. You have to anticipate these signings. You really do.
I'm glad you said that, because I think that's very smart. Is that you brought up the free agent money that the Bears had. The Bears, listen, you know this, but let me just tell people that aren't in Chicago. Chicago's a sports town. Like, you hear about teams that are tanking. You're not trying to tank in Chicago. All right?
Well, no. Last year the Bears did try to tank. They traded two defensive players, but now they're trying to win. And this Justin Fields is not making it easy.
No, he's not. And it'll be very interesting to see what happens in the offseason, because at the rate that they're going, I think they could just clean house after the season. And
yeah, the coach seems like a nice guy, but you know what? He's a defensive coach. He's literally lost 12 games in a row now. No one really knows what's going on behind the scenes. I think there's a little bit of a coaching issue, and no one knows once these teams start losing, everything implodes.
Let me ask you this here, and I'm throwing you another curveball here, and I just forgot the guy's name. Coming out of the draft, the Bears had the 9th pick in the draft. The kid from Georgia.
Right. Jalen Carter.
Okay, Jalen Carter. And I'm doing the draft live. I'm like, this is a no-brainer here. The Bears need a defensive tackle. They're going to take Jalen Carter. When they traded out of that pick, right, that's kind of when I thought, somebody's going to get fired over this if Jalen Carter plays worth a damn. As of right now, he's having a great season. Now it's 2 days, but I mean, I really thought when they made that, heads could roll in Chicago.
Yeah. Well, he had a character problem, and that's a tough thing, and the Bears wanted to help out Justin Fields, so they traded down one spot. They got they got some kind of middle round draft pick, and they picked an offensive tackle instead to help their quarterback. So, it's you're right. Jalen Carter, the first game they said he was a beast, and he was just decent in the second. That's a judgment call teams make. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, and but he slid all the way down there. So there are a lot of other teams that passed on him too. The Raiders, they screwed up. The guy they drafted, the defensive end from Texas Tech, he has an injury history. He's done nothing the first 2 games. They wish they drafted Jalen Carter. They screwed up.
Yeah, they do wish they drafted Jalen Carter, because I remember he was just cleared to practice late August, or it was just, I think maybe even after the first week of preseason. Now, if you watch his highlight reel, it looks awesome. But the one thing I've noticed is that, let's say he was healthy, which he's not.
Right.
There's a difference between being a good athlete and being a good pass rusher. You need to have some bend. You have to be able to get to the guy, because he's just in college, he looked like he was just running right at the dude. And he's, yeah. The other thing is dominating in the Big 12 is, it's not conference known for its.
It's a little wide open. Yeah, it's a different game.
Yeah. So I was a little questionable. Now, don't get me wrong. If it pans out, you got Max Crosby on the other side. Maybe they can do something there.
Right.
But no, you're completely right. My boy Tim's got a great question.
Let's see.
Guys, this is a great commentary. I have one more kind of a fun question. What is your favorite gambling movie of all time? I have to say mine is probably Two for the Money. By the way, awesome show tonight. Tim, by the way, man, thanks for the commentary. Thanks for the love, man. I've never seen Two for the Money.
I believe Two for the Money was about the scam of how these guys sell picks. I believe. Don't quote me. And if that's true, I saw it 15 years ago. And the movie was like now before its time, because now that's a real thing, but it was based. I believe that's what it was. But the original Gambler with James Caan, like in whatever came out, like 75.
Oh, that was phenomenal. That saved on my playlist. I'm a James Caan fan.
Yeah,
I got that saved, and I'm embarrassed to admit this. Oh God, the movie he's in with Billy D. Williams. No, with Billy D. Williams. Brian's song.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I got that saved. I got those 2 movies saved. I've never seen Brian's song, and I feel like a dick because it's a good sports movie, and I've never seen it.
Yeah, I saw that when I was 10 years old, so I don't remember it that well. But the Gambler was, and then the Sting was good, of course, and I believe Two for the Money. I believe I'm referring to the correct movie. It was pretty good, ahead of its time. Yeah.
You know what? I haven't seen it. Tim, I'm going to give you mine, and it's maybe one of my I don't know if you would call it a gambling movie. I might be splitting hairs, but it's one of my favorite movies of all time, The Color of Money. Paul Newman, Tom Cruise.
Very good movie, yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that movie. I don't know if you would call that a gambling movie or not, but it's one of my all-time favorites.
Right, and it's funny, all the pool hustlers, when poker took off 20 years ago, they either went to poker or they're out of business because
exactly
the pool hustlers had no one to hustle anymore.
It's actually funny. I ran into a buddy of mine. There used to be a pool hall. It's closed. I think it's a furniture store. It's been a furniture store, I think, for like 10 years. And I think the poker boom killed the place. But I ran into a buddy of mine in high school, and the guy drank like a fish, but he was there all the time. He told me a story. I'm like 40% sure it's true. Just one of those type of guys. But he said that, he kept on playing double or nothing until it got up to like $4,000, and he walked out of the place with $4,000. And
you gotta get lucky to get paid, but that's a whole, that's a hustler.
Exactly. I mean, like I said, I'm about 40% sure. Every time I saw him, he could barely walk and talk. So
too funny.
But he was there almost every single time I went there. He was there playing. So I mean,
funny. Well, Dan, what do you think about my Bryce Young bets, my under bets? I think he's a little small, the guy. I really do.
I think your bets are fantastic. Matter of fact, those are my favorites, to tell you the truth, because I have no faith that Bryce Young's going to have a successful season year one. I mean, you get rid of your option number one at wide receiver, DJ Moore's in Chicago now.
Right.
All right. You got Frank Wright, who I like a lot. I think it's an upgraded coach, and he may do a good job, but Look, he had some problems with different quarterbacks in Indianapolis. Now, Wentz looks like to be a bust. I was really surprised things didn't work out with Matt Ryan, but I was kind of thinking to myself, it's going to take at least a year. And these numbers, these are really high. 3650, right. I thought was insane because, number one, I don't think he's going to play all 17. I don't think he's going to play 17. And even if he does, I think that's just way too high of a number. And 22 and a half, I don't know. I think he has one touchdown pass in 2 games. I don't know what it is.
Correct. He did 0, and he did a late touchdown pass yesterday. So I'm thinking, he's a short. Let's say he just throws 1 TD pass a game, and then once a game he runs in for it. So I got 22 and a half. I mean, that's 17 is 1 a game. I like my bet.
Did he have one against who did he play? The Saints? Did he have? Because I know he had one against the Falcons.
If he had, then maybe he's got 2. I'm not sure. It could be.
I thought he had 1, but I mean, I'm gonna level with you. When you posted these bets in May, the Bryce Young bets I thought were easily my favorites. Yeah. And the reason why is I see I feel like such a dick for saying this, but I don't see a way that this dude's going to play 17 games. I don't see it.
I agree. I mean, I think he's a high character guy. He's a smart. And I saw something say he's a very accurate. When you watch him play, you can see he's got some game, but he's a little small. They have no talent at all. And I bet the under, and so far I'm ahead of my bet. My bet looks good.
Yeah, Denver Gator agrees with you. Bryce Young bets are solid gold. No weapons, and look. I'm 5'8", George. I mean, I can't tell here. You look like you're kind of a tall dude.
I'm exactly 6 feet.
Okay, so you're kind of a big dude. I as somebody who's 5'8" myself, I love shorter guys. I'm always pulling for the shorter guys. Breeze, Bryce Young, I'm pulling for these guys.
Doug Flutie, he had a couple good years. Yeah.
But when I saw Bryce Young, I didn't care about 5'11". I cared that he was listed at 195 at Alabama, so he was probably closer to 180. Maybe. And when you wait, I saw some of those hits he took against the Saints, and he's not going to make through a full season. I say this quite a bit. You got to put on what I call, quote unquote, the NFL 20. You got to get in an NFL weight room. You got to put on some weight. You got to, work on your diet, do things like that. I guarantee Trevor Lawrence did it. Trevor Lawrence, another guy, he had to put on the NFL 20. There's a lot of guys that need to do this. I guarantee you, Bryce Young next year is going to look completely different physically. He's going to put on about 20 pounds this offseason. You watch, and he'll need to.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's a good idea, but I think he's still I think he's a smart player. When you watch him, I see his it factor. Like with Justin Fields, I don't see that at all. But Bryce Young is just a little guy. They're going to roll him out, and again, I hope he makes it. He seems like a nice kid.
Oh, I hope so too. I just don't see any success on. Like I said, C.J. Stroud was my quarterback number one. Even though he's lost both games, I like what I've seen in him. They need to get him some help, and it also hurts that they got a defensive-minded head coach,
right?
And all those draft picks that's just going to kill him.
And C.J. Stroud, he throws a nice ball, and all of a sudden now it seems like he has some mobility, which I never really saw at Ohio State. Yeah. After 2 games, I agree with you totally. He's 0-2, but he looks decent. He's a very accurate player. And but you're right. They got a defensive, and they got ripped off in this draft because of these quarterbacks that are coming. They really made a mistake trading away their first pick. You got to know what's coming in the next draft the next year.
All they have with the first 3 rounds is a second-round pick, and they need help. They need help. I don't know what the free agency money looks like. Denver Gator points out Flutie Faith.
Right.
I remember those. Denver Gator has a fantastic question here. Do you have any future bets you're considering through the season?
Yeah, you know what? I probably spend 15, 20 minutes a day. Like today, I will casually look at Caesars, I look at DraftKings, and I look at Rivers Canby. I look at all their different futures bets, and I'm always just if I find an like. Again, back to the Raiders bets. I was never looking for a crazy bet. How many games the team wins in a division? I never knew there was such a thing. So I saw that bet and I jumped on it, and we agree. I still think it's a great bet, but so far
it is a fantastic bet.
These sports books now, they got all these crazy bets. Oh, look what happened over the weekend. I wish I would have bet it. FanDuel had a bet. Every team kicks a field goal. And did you hear about this?
No.
In the day games, they gave like 200 to 1. They lost millions. They lost millions.
No, I didn't know about this.
Oh, when we're done here talking, you go to Google. They gave 200 to 1 every day football game yesterday in the NFL. There were like 10 of them. Every team had to score at least 1 field goal. Every team scored a field goal. They lost millions of dollars. You can't make this up.
Well, I'm so here's the deal. I use only 3 apps. I use the Caesar Sportsbook because I'm a diamond member with Harris, so I take advantage of that. So I get some comps. That's kind of another story. Barstool, because Barstool's 15 minutes away, and then I like the way DraftKings is set up. It's pretty simple, easy to use. But I think there's like 3 others that I have on my phone. I've never even made a deposit on. What I'm trying to do is get an affiliate program with one of them. And it's actually funny. I was trying to send it in with FanDuel because I heard that they're looking for everybody, but for whatever reason, it wouldn't let me do it. But as soon as I become associated with one, I'm going to make those bets. But the under 2.5 wins in the division, that was one I didn't see. So you said it was on Caesars. I have the Caesars app.
Okay.
Harris is a hop, skip, and a jump away, but I'll throw a little confusion in here. I'm in Kansas City, so I'm on the Kansas side. The Harris is on the Missouri side, so I can't make bets there, but I can use the Sportsbook app on the Kansas side, but I can't go to Harris and make bets. Hopefully I'm making sense here.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about because I know exactly what you're talking about. You have to be in the state line, you have to live in the state, but you can just drive there and make a bet in person anytime you want.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of also one other issue is that this is maybe I know an illegal way I can work around it. So my computer is set up with Google Fiber, right? So the main modem's down in Texas. So when they do the Wi-Fi settings, it goes down to Texas. When Texas doesn't allow sports betting, so I can bet on my phone, but I can't bet on my home computer.
Wow,
which is kind of weird here. Keys is having some fun here. Fill in the blank. Put your money on Dan doing more Coke or Bertha's.
I don't get that one.
It's kind of an inside joke here.
Okay.
Because I have one. Only had one cup of coffee. I drink a lot of energy drinks. They're convinced I'm on blow.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I hear those are. I've never done a Red Bull in my life. I hear they're no good for you, but
they're not. They're not good for you. And the worst part is they're highly, highly, highly addictive. Wow. But yeah, I drink way too many energy drinks. I'm trying to kick the habit. So today I just have coffee, but I'm overly caffeinated. The joke is that I'm on wait. I'm everybody's different. I live a clean lifestyle, no drugs and no alcohol. But the joke is I do a lot of cocaine. So
there you go.
Only in Vegas, but that doesn't count. My last girlfriend, I told her it was legal there, and she believed it for months.
Too funny.
Well, I wasn't dating her for her brains, you know what I'm saying? But Denver Gator has a fantastic question. Actually, to tell you the truth, I'm glad he asked it because I was wanting to ask this myself.
Right.
George, you're in the poker scene. Who are the most famous players you've played against?
Well, very simple. I did play against played with him, Phil Hellmuth. He's a nice guy.
Oh, you're kidding me.
I was at Aria because, like I said, I've always played PLO. Small stakes PLO. I'm playing 1-2 PLO at Aria roughly 7 years ago. Phil is learning different games instead of just hold them. So he sits down at the table next to me. I have a picture with him. It's no big deal. He's a gentleman. We played 1-2 PLO at Aria for like an hour. We had fun. He's trying to learn the game. And that's my most famous player I played with, the big Phil Hellmuth. I
am such a huge Phil Hellmuth fan, and I read several books of his when I was playing poker, and because I found out quickly, I'm not a tournament player. I'm a cash game player.
Two different things, yes. Specialized.
Completely, yeah, exactly. And I found out real fast, tournament poker is not for me, but cash game. And I read several of his books, and I thought it was really interesting because he's a big dude. He's like, I think 6'4", 6'5", something like that.
Yes, he's not a small guy. Yes.
Yeah, and he said that the whole thing, and by the way, if you're not familiar with poker, I know Denver Gator is, but he's famous for blowing up. One of the things he admitted in one of his books is that he uses his temper tantrums and his size to intimidate players at the table. And I just thought that was nothing short of genius. That he takes advantage. I mean, look, you're 6'5", use it to your advantage. And he's like, any little tip that you can get, you want to go ahead and use that. And I thought that was genius. But everybody says the same thing that you've said, is that if you get him off the table, probably the nicest guy you ever meet, but he's also the most intimidating player.
Yeah, no, he's a nice, and yes, he was famous for the tantrums. He got a lot of TV time, and he made a lot of money. But now I believe he's one of these positive energy guys.
I follow him on Twitter,
and I think he's changed now. Yes.
He completely changed. All about positivity. I don't watch as much poker as I used to. Like I said, I haven't played in about 10, 12 years. So
it's not easy now. It's concentrate on something else. It's not easy.
Well, that's kind of what I did. I had the poker boom, and I think after the boom kind of died away, my interest did as well. My favorite players are Phil Hellmuth, Ivy, and Lack. Actually, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Oh yeah, Daniel Negreanu was actually.
Yeah, he's great for TV. He's a great person. He's very personable. He's great for the whole industry. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting with Negreanu, and this is something I did just the opposite, is that he says when you're at a table, you want to be friendly and outgoing with other players, because if everybody's having a good time, they're a little more free with their money. When I first started getting into poker, I was told just shut the fuck up and observe, and it's not my personality. And I think that worked against me, and then I read that, and I tried to be a little more friendly. Do you have like do you try any tricks like that on the poker table, or you just just play? Or
well, when you're playing a hand, business is business. Be tight, be aggressive. Well, you know what? I'm the kind of guy that I like to be social. I like to why not be friendly? Don't ever say anything stupid to the sucker, and keep everybody happy.
That's some genius stuff here. I probably shouldn't admit this, but when I played at the poker table, because This again a long time ago, so it was much smaller. But if I saw somebody wearing Nebraska or Iowa gear, I'd hit them up, and if they were farmers, I'd want to play against them because it's a little known fact. Farmers have money, right, and they're bored, and they just want to have fun. They don't give a shit if they lose. So I always knew that if a farmer got into a bet, he probably has like some shit hand. He just wants some action. He's just bored watching corn grow. Right. And it was.
No, there's a lot of truth to it. There's an old saying, people do not drive to the casino to fold hands. And it's very true. They want to play. And the average person at the casino is just an average player. And they would rather hold a hand and play than fold. So there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, that was something that I took advantage of, something that I picked up. I used to be a blackjack dealer during the poker boom. That's when I was dealing blackjack, and then every casino in Kansas City all of a sudden got poker rooms. That's when I got out. And anyway, that's the end of that. Helmuth is a showman. He's built a worldwide. Yeah, exactly. And now he's promoting positivity. Seriously, it used to be, I don't know if you can do this anymore. When I first got into poker, I went to the public library. You could check out about 60 or 70 different books. And I checked them all out. I'm not going to tell you I read them all, but.
Oh, no, during the poker boom, if you went to a bookstore, Barnes & Noble,
yeah,
they had a whole section.
Yes.
On poker books. And now if you go there, they have, one little shelf with like 30 books. That's how it goes. That's how the world is.
That is. Oh, man, I got the Homeland as return, man. Welcome, brother, man. It's good to see you back, man. I haven't seen you in forever. This is him and his name's Corey, a.k.a. the Red Sea, Cardinals fan. He knows he's in for a rough year. They used to come on my show on Tuesdays. Homeland, man, it's good to see you again, brother. My boy Key says, I just want to learn how to count cards. If I got too deep in it, then I'd be in trouble. Counting cards. I knew some, as a blackjack dealer, I knew some people that did it. If you could stay under the radar, maybe you can. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough racket because after literally a week, they're going to figure out, you're there for business, and they're going to know what you're doing, and they're going to say, we don't want your business after 2 weeks. It's a losing deal.
One thing about I can tell you is there was when I was a blackjack dealer, what they would do at every casino is different, is that the pit boss would tap me on the shoulder and he would say, cut it in half. And then that's exactly what I did. And
they just dealt half the thing. Wow.
Yeah. And a lot of times they wouldn't even, it would be the person walking to my table. Right. So they if you're not aware, they have cameras that called Eyes in the Skies. You could take a dime, you could flip it on the ground, and those cameras can tell you what year that dime was made. And those cameras are everywhere.
Wow.
I worked at a couple different casinos. You're not walking in and, getting away with something. So, hey, I got to ask here, if you don't have anything, that's fine. I've been telling everybody the link to George's Twitter feed is in the description below. Follow him. He posts his wins. I'm not sure. Look, he posts his wins.
Right.
Posts his losses. Do you have anything for week 3 that you're looking at? Anything that you want to share? By the way, I believe I have it in the link below, my week 3 picks. I literally just released them an hour ago.
You know what? As soon as like Sunday night, Monday morning, I of course I look at the lines in every game, and I think of what happened the day before, and half of it is something's got to strike me, like right off the top of my head. As of right now, I don't have any feel at all for week 3. Now, for example, week 2 that just ended, I was wrong in the Cincy game, but I was sitting at first of all, I casually looked at the games after they ended. I liked Cincinnati right off the bat. When I saw the line was only 3, this is last Sunday night, I attacked because I thought it was going to go up, and I was right. By Monday midday, it was 3.5. So I attacked on Cincinnati -3 on Sunday, but I was wrong in the game, and it happens. But if you got to feel it just like that. And as of right now, I have no feel for nothing for week 3 as far as betting games.
Let me ask you this here. Somebody once told me that I can't remember who it was that said this. He said that if you bet the over, or if you bet the team to cover the biggest point spread of the week, and you do it for 17 weeks, at the end of the season, you're going to be up. Have you ever heard
what?
that?
I never heard that. You know what I have heard is bet whoever was the biggest loser of the week, whoever lost by the most points, bet on that team the following weekend. And if you go back, then it might be like a break even bet. It might, which is not bad.
You know what? I would believe that in college. I don't know that about the pros. I've never heard that. I'm actually thinking about that. And the reason why I say that is because the team with the biggest, now I think it's going to change because Dallas is 12, Kansas City's 12 and a half. But I think by kickoff, I think Dallas is going to be favored. And that I think Chicago is going to keep it interesting. I don't think Kansas City is going to cover 12 and a half. I think Dallas is going to cover 12, even though and I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I can bet a road team to cover 12, right. But that
used to be
games
before scoring was so easy. It used to be in the old days, if a road team was favored by 10 or more, you automatically bet on the home team.
Yes.
And you were like 70% over like 30 years. But now it's a whole different world. These teams score points like it's nothing.
Well, I agree completely. And you're 100% correct. In the old days, that was a no-brainer. And when I first started getting into sports betting, I had a buddy of mine. That's what he did is he looked at the home dog and he looked at the biggest home dog that he could find. Now this is a reference more to college.
Yeah.
But he said like any double-digit home dog, he circled all those games and then he went back and did it. And keep in mind, this is very, very, very long time ago, back when I had hair. So,
there used to be another. Again, I was never a big college football, but there used to be a parlay in college football. It works so well, you can't even do it now. Like if the home team is favored by like 28 points or more, you parlay the home team and the over. And literally over a 20-year period of time, you were a mathematical favorite. And it is such a strong thing. The sports book, they don't even let you bet it. You can't even bet it. If you go tomorrow and do it, they don't even let you bet the parlay. That's how good it was. I'm not kidding you.
Yeah, you know what? It makes a lot of sense. I never heard that, and I'm a little embarrassed about that.
Because if they cover, you know it's going to be a higher scoring game.
Exactly.
The customer was the favorite on the bet. Right.
Well, of course they made it illegal. I mean, Denver Gator brings up a great question here, and I'd love to know your answer here. He asked, "What about betting the home team on Thursdays?"
Gator, I absolutely have no idea what the answer to the question is. I'm sure if you just want, Thursdays it's been around now. What for? I don't know, 20 years. It's been a regular.
I'm not a fan of it.
Right. I don't know if the trend worked. I don't know anything about it, but if you mathematically over 20 years, you're going to have aberrations that work 55, 57% of the time. I don't know anything. It could work. I don't know anything about it though, off the top of my head.
Well, let me ask you this here. What is your preference? Do you look at a home team on Thursdays? Do you look at that as an advantage, not an advantage? Do you have a preference for it?
You know what? I probably should pay attention to it more, but I just first of all, the both teams played on Sunday. So to me, the Thursday game, they're both the same. They've rested for 3 or 4 days. So maybe I should have factored it more into my play. But to me, I just factor it as a game. Now, the following week, when this team has 10 days rest, does the team that play on Thursday have an advantage on the following Sunday? I believe they have an advantage because they have 10 days rest instead of the team playing they're against has 7 days rest. So that's theory. But as far as the Thursday night game itself, those teams both have the same 3 days rest. So I don't think there's much to it, but I could be wrong.
No, I kind of agree with you. I always look at the team after Thursday. If they get those extra 3 days, I think that's a massive advantage, especially if you have, actually, to tell you the truth, I said especially if you have an older team, but it works out both ways. If you have a younger team, you can get more preparation. But if you have an older team and you get those extra 3 days of rest, I think that's massive. I think it's a big advantage. That's something I know I pay attention to. But as far as betting the home team on Thursdays, I've never looked at it as a big advantage one way or another.
Right. Dan, the other thing I want to point out, because you're showing my bets from last week, I just want everyone to know, because I'm very open about what I did. If you look at my second Cincinnati bet, I crossed it out. Now, and I tweeted everybody. You can check my tweet. The reason why I did that was
Follow him.
Yeah.
Below.
I bet Cincinnati Sunday night, and I got a little. I woke up Monday morning. I love Cincinnati, so I bet them on the Caesars app also Monday morning. And then the reason why I crossed it out on the sheet a few days later was because I wanted to count it as just one bet. Either I win or lose, I win one game. But I did have 2,000 on Cincinnati, so I wanted to be open to everybody. Why I crossed it out in front of everybody. That's why I did that.
Well, this is kind of why I like you a lot more than I like a lot of other people. As a matter of fact, I'm on Instagram. I'd say about once a week, I get somebody shooting me a DM I've never heard of, goes, "Hey, do you want to buy some fixed matches?" And I know that guy's full of shit. And there's so many people out there on different social media platforms that are like, posting wins and guaranteed victories and all this bullshit. And I know that, no matter what, I know I'm going to get something straight from you. And this is why I recommend, because a lot of people here, now I know Denver Gators has a sports betting background. A lot of people are getting into it, especially in the Kansas City area, because last year was first year it became legal in Kansas. A lot of people are getting into sports betting, and I always like, look, follow people that have some integrity. Follow people. I always say follow me, but yeah. but I tell people, listen, you want to follow this guy, George. He knows what he's talking about. He'll post his wins and he posts his losses, and it's really rare that you see that in the betting community.
Right. Well, again, when the scratching out the second Cincinnati, I did that days before the game was played, and I told everybody exactly why I did it, and I had nothing to hide. I wanted it to be counted as one win or one loss, but I did have $2,000 on the game. It's just as simple as that. I have nothing to hide. As long as you show everything, people respect that.
Yeah, I know I do, and that's the reason why I've always followed you for years, and I'm so geeked out that you decided to join me on the show, and I'm going to let you know. I mean, I know I said this before we went on the air. I hope that you come back again.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that you I didn't know that you did draft stuff, because we do a lot. I do a lot of draft stuff, so I hope I can get you in for the draft. Maybe I could double dip, get you in for the playoffs or later in the season.
Well, I'll tell you right now, here's when we can double dip. They announced the comeback player of the year the week before the Super Bowl, that week. So you can have me back at the latest. You can have me back then. Win or lose, we'll see how my two bets went. And I'll be having at least one draft prop bet I'll place, and I'll tweet it out. And then yes, I'll have at least, and then the week before the draft, I'll be betting the draft too.
Now, yeah, I would love to have you on. I'd love for you to share your information with us, because more and more people are getting into sports betting, and I see more and more people. There's one of my followers. He's not here today, but I remember he won on the Super Bowl. I think it was his first bet. He bet on Jesse Bates getting an interception, and I tried telling him, like, I think it was only like plus 195 or something. I didn't think it was a good number. I didn't think it was a good bet. But when you hit on a bet and it's not a good bet, it's kind of hard to tell somebody it wasn't a good idea.
Well, that's a great argument. The average guy, if he won, he's a genius. But let's go back 20 years when Tiger Woods was the best. If you remember, we'll go out a little tangent. Tiger Woods, when he went to a major 20 years ago, he would be like 2-1 odds to win the golf tournament. I mean, and what a bad bet that was. But these people that won with Tiger, they thought they were geniuses. Yeah. But a bad bet is a bad bet. It really is.
And that's something that you got more and more amateurs coming into the sports betting world. Apps are everywhere. You can't watch a football game without 5 different commercials for sports betting with a lot of different promotions. So I try to point people towards you. That and myself, I got just this fucking giant ego here, George. I'm an egotistical motherfucker. But so I always tell people, listen to me. Let me point you in the right direction. Let me help you out. But I tell people, if you're really into sports betting, you got to follow George. I've sent some people DMs. I shared with Keys earlier today. I shared. He's the guy I shared all your bets with, and he's the one who had the issue with the Mahomes under 46.50. Being a Chiefs fan, I guess.
He's a homer. Hey, tell him last year I bet the Bears under everything. Business is business, man, and I was dead right for 50 grand. I hit some long shots, and this year I really thought the Bears were going to at least win 8 games with the core. And there's a lot of other smart people that like. If you heard before the year, a lot of other people like the Bears, but so far we've been dead wrong. It happens.
Well, I got some heat from other Chiefs fans because in the divisional round against Jacksonville, I took Jacksonville to cover 8.5.
Yeah, you were the smart.
It's nothing personal. I'm here. I want to make some money, and there are some opportunities to make some money in sports betting. You got to do it right, and you can't fall in love with your team either.
No, there's no business, no way you can do that. Yeah, I'm thinking about putting up some under bets on the Bears now, but I looked at their schedule. Of course, we're going to lose to Kansas City, but the next 4 games we play average to below average teams, and who knows what's going to happen.
Well, I'll tell you what, I like I said, I did my picks video, and I encourage everybody, please check it out. 7 minutes. I give you a score prediction. I put the point spread down there. And then this year I'm keeping track of, I'm doing every single game of the year straight up and against the spread. Right now I'm 17-15 against the spread. Wow. That's not bad.
Not at all. But that's not, I'm the kind of guy that I like to concentrate on 1-2 games. I'm not the kind of guy that picks every game because I'll come right out and say it. 80% of these games are just flip a coin. Who knows?
Absolutely, and I could not agree more with you. I would never recommend betting all 16 games, but in my picks video, I pick a score. I provide the point spread. It's more for entertainment, and look, I'm gonna toot my horn a little bit here. It's a damn good video. It's 7 minutes long, so check it out. And
good for you. Good for you.
I'm Denver Gator says he goes, LOL, George. I thought you crossed it out because you accidentally wrote it. That's what I thought. I thought it was just a typo. So I'm glad you kind of clarified that.
No, I did totally. When I made the second bet Monday morning, then I had 2,000 on them. So I wanted to write down each bet, and then a couple of days later, you can check my tweets. I'm nothing. And I said I wanted to make sure it just counts as one win or one loss. I don't want every little extra bet and over bets, and that's why I did it. Simple as that.
Well, man, I'm glad. Here's the thing: you could have lied about it. You could have just said, "Hey, I just lost 1,000, I lost 2,000."
Yeah, I lost. I wish I lost 2,000. I'm not lying about it. I was dead wrong in the game. I love Cincinnati. A lot of other sharp people like Cincinnati too, but what are you going to do?
No, I get it. I get it. Denver Gator says, "Bet with your head, not over it." That's smart. To be fair, that was a month or two ago. Jones was holding out, and we had no idea what the rest of the defense would be. I'd for sure expect 17 games from Mahomes, Kansas City, not being able to rest starters. Because he has a good point. Because in his seasons in Kansas City, the first 5 seasons, 3 of them he's gone over to 46.50. And Keys has some. Put the comment up here. He has some really good points. What would be your counterpoint to under the 46.50 number?
You know what it is? It's people underestimate the injury factor. And I really wasn't sure of Mahomes' ankle. And this, you can get hurt at any time. Look at Aaron Rodgers. I mean, the 4th play, if you bet the under, you won.
Yeah.
And the year before, I bet the under on Trey Lance.
Trey Lance. Yeah, I remember that.
Same thing. I'm like, this. I didn't think he was that good, and I said, this guy runs around. He's going to get hurt. He got hurt the 3rd game. That was it. The bet was a winner.
You know what? It was the 2nd game, and I'm so pissed because Seattle beats Denver week 1, right? Russell Wilson comes back to Seattle. Everybody, so they lose. So Seattle wins.
Oh yeah, the Monday night game or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they play San Francisco week 2, and San Francisco's a 9.5-point favorite. And I'm like, Seattle's going to cover this, no brainer. Trey Lance breaks his damn ankle. They put in Jimmy Garoppolo, and he just goes back, ding, 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 and they win 27-7. And I remember saying, if I knew Trey Lance was going to get hurt, there's no way I bet Seattle. There's no possible way, because I thought Jimmy Garoppolo would be, by the way, I believe that same thing with Atlanta. If Gardner Minshew, Indianapolis. If Gardner Minshew is the starting quarterback, I like the Colts to better than Anthony Richardson. Now, long term, I like Richardson more.
I was just going to say the exact same thing. I totally agree with you. I think this Gardner Minshew, one of the most underrated players in the NFL. He never got drafted high, and I like his game a lot.
But as for injuries, I'd counter with Bobby Strope. I don't
know who that is.
I don't know either. I don't know who that is. Hey, George, listen, we'll wrap everything up. If anybody's got any final thoughts, any questions, anything that they want to ask before George gets out of here and we end the show for the week, let us know. One thing I just want to point out, if I don't have it in the description below, you can go on my channel. My week 3 picks video just came out. It's 7 minutes. I do every single game with the point spread, score prediction, and I give you the winner. It's a great video. I'm tooting my own horn, but it's my channel. What am I supposed to do? It is a good video. I'm not lying.
Good for you, Dan. I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Please do check it out. Like I said, it's a good video. But what do you have? Do you have anything that you want to say before we end up?
Guys, it's hard to win. And the easiest thing to screw up that you never should, don't screw up your bankroll. Don't overbet. Be careful what you bet. Start out small, 100, whatever. Don't bet too much. That's going to affect your rent. Let's put it that way. Bet small and have fun with it, and don't overdo it.
Yeah, I couldn't say it any better. I call it a burn fund because it's money you light on fire and you don't think about it. Don't bet your rent check, whatever you do. Okay, Stropes is Mahomes' trainer, very big on prevention, why Mahomes was able to do what he did. Okay, so a good trainer.
Got it.
And Keys also says, I was expecting a lot of shootouts, 15 games, 310 yards a game. And
I tell you, when Mahomes got that bad tackle, when he hurt his ankle in that playoff game, I cannot believe he finished. I mean, that was just a miracle.
Oh, yeah. I was doing play-by-play. So I did it last half of the year. This year I'm doing all 17 games. I do play-by-play in reaction to the Chiefs. I may do an occasional primetime game like Monday night. That's up in the air. But when he hurt his ankle after the replay, I thought he was done.
Yeah.
I thought his season was over. And I had action on Jacksonville covering a small bet, but I was like, okay, I feel good about that. But as a fan, I thought we could get by Jacksonville, but I didn't think we'd be able to get by Cincinnati with I'm drawing a blank on the backup quarterback is.
Oh, who is your backup quarterback?
Right now it's Blaine Gabbert. Blaine Gabbert's an interesting story, but last year we had he ended up retiring. And I'm drawing a complete blank on his name. This year, we got a guy named Blaine Gabbert. Real interesting story. First round pick out of Missouri. Chad Henne, that's the guy, Chad Henne. Yeah, I thought with Chad Henne we could beat Jacksonville. I didn't think we'd be able to beat Cincinnati with him. Blaine Gabbert, first round pick, went to Jacksonville. The team was complete dog shit. And they threw him in as a rookie, and he just seemed to never –
right.
All the talent in the world. The dude's like 6'6". He was 230. He ran like a 4'6", had this bazooka for an arm. If you were to say, God, build me a quarterback, it would have been somebody like Blaine Gabbert.
Right.
He was just put in such a bad situation that he ended up being a journeyman. And listen, being a backup NFL quarterback's not a bad deal.
Are you kidding right now? You look at a guy like Trubisky, you're guaranteed – for 10 years, he'll be in the league making $3 to $5 million a year. What's wrong with that?
You know what? That was the guy who I really wanted. I shouldn't even admit that. I love Trubisky coming out of college. That was the guy I wanted instead of Mahomes. And
he had a nice senior year. The scouting reports were positive. Right. And that the Bears traded up from 3 to 2 to get him.
Yeah.
And you guys get Mahomes at like what, number 11 or 12 in the draft?
It was 10. We traded up for Buffalo.
Yeah,
and matter of fact, Buffalo got a damn good player at 27. And I was kind of mad because Tre'Davious White, that's who they got. And I wanted Tre'Davious White. We needed a corner at the time. And I remember thinking I was kind of mad, but this Mahomes guy's okay.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's all right. He's all right. So, it's one of those times I was wrong. I mean, maybe Trubisky's not going to have a better career. Actually, you know what? I don't even know what team Trubisky's on anymore.
He's on Pittsburgh. He's the backup.
Is he still in Pittsburgh?
You know what? I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure he started like 3 games last year. He threw like 2 picks in each game, and that was it. That was the second chance he blew it.
I really thought he was going to make a do in a good situation in Pittsburgh last year. I thought he was going to be in a good spot. He could lean on the running game. They got that Freiermuth at tight end. They got Deontay Johnson. I thought that, hey, look, this is going to work out for you, and I couldn't be more wrong.
Exactly. And you guys got our Matt Nagy now, who really ruffled. He didn't do well in Chicago. He pissed some people off, and now he's still your OC. And Eric Bieniemy's gone. He's in Washington.
Yeah, and it's actually funny, and I told you I was going to let you go. Let me ask you just one more question here, because when Matt Nagy was in Chicago, this was my impression. He looked like he was trying to run the Andy Reid offense, which is the most complex offense in the NFL. It's just insanely difficult to run, and Trubisky just looked completely overwhelmed. He looked like he didn't know what to do. And I kept on thinking they should dumb down the offense for him, just made it very simple, very easy, because he athletically, good athlete. Was that the impression that you had, or as a Bears fan, or is it just the guy just can't play?
I think it's a little bit of both. He didn't play that well, and I think Nagy and Trubisky, they didn't get along, and things just went south real quick, and Nagy left on a bad note, and but it happened. That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes.
Oh, I always say this. I never feel bad when an NFL head coach loses his job, because you're a millionaire. You're going to go and have another job where you're going to make, at worst, mid-6 figures. I mean, it's almost impossible to be an NFL head coach to unemployed. You can always either go to TV, or you can be an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator. He comes to Kansas City. He was the quarterback coach in the offense. I never feel bad for an NFL head coach to get fired. So
you're right. They're set for life, just like the backup quarterback. These guys will be okay. They'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for those guys here. I'll touch base on this real fast here. Yeah, so Denver Gator Keys' channel, it's kind of up in the air. So what I've been doing is I've been stealing Keys, and he's been coming on my show Friday, and hopefully Keys can make it Friday. So you can quit the college. You can quit. Yeah, like Matt Rule. He's probably making actually he's not, because he signed that crazy 7-year, $60 million deal in Carolina. But most of these colleges are paying the same amount of money as in the NFL.
Yeah, the big name programs, these guys are getting $5 million. I guarantee Rule's making $5 million a year. And you know what? It's going to these NFL guys. They're all getting 10 or more. And I got news for you. You're coordinating the staff. I think that the good ones, I really think they deserve it. There's no doubt about it. No,
I agree. I agree completely here. Hey, George, if you don't have anything else, I was just going to wrap up here. Do you got anything else you want to say before we get out?
No, you know what? I've had fun. I've never done this before. I'm just connected to your connection here on my phone. I think your setup here is so easy. I mean, this is unbelievable.
It's pretty cool. I have a lot of fun doing this. I just started going live Tuesdays during the NFL season, and I think I'm going to continue during the off season. I go live every Tuesday and every Friday. I always say the same thing. All questions are answered. Anything goes. We got some really good people in the chat, and I hope that if you're ever free to come on, please let me know. We hit each other up on social media, so you just hit me up if you want to come on. If you got some bets that you want to throw out there. By the way, in the description below is George's Twitter account. That's the only social media he uses. Make sure you follow him, because he posts out some really great stuff.
All right. Well, Dan, I really enjoyed this. You know what? Perfect time at the end of the year, middle of January. We'll go through the results of every one of these year-long props I got, and we'll win or lose. We'll have some fun. We'll talk about the playoffs.
No, I can't wait. I hope you collect a lot of money and have a lot of fun here. Hopefully you're not partying too hard there. I know I've only driven through Chicago. I've never really spent a lot of time there, but I'm told it's a fun town.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, just now you have to be careful. It used to be better, but what are you going to do? That's another story.
All right. Hey, guys, let everybody go. I'll be back Friday. Don't forget, check out my picks video. Have a great time. I'll see you all back on Friday.
Dan, that was fun. See you, buddy.
All right. See you.